Hare Krishna. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavasya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshadarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Hare Krishna, so welcome everyone to the 4th unit of the Bhakti Vaibhav course. So we'll begin with the 9th chapter, 9, 10 and 11. So 9th chapter is passing away of Bhishma Dev in the presence of Lord Krishna. Okay, let's start. So the first 10 verses, क्या हो रहा है? वहाँ कुछ अलग है, यहाँ कुछ अलग. Okay, let's decide. Text 1. Sutta uvacha iti vita prajadrohat sarvadharma vivitsaya tato vinashanam pragat yatra deva vratopatat. Sutta Goswami said, being afraid of for having killed so many subjects on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Maharaj Yudhishthira went to the scene of the massacre. There Bhishmadev was lying on a bed of arrows about to pass away. So at the end of the previous chapter, we saw how Yudhishthira Maharaj, after the battle of Kurukshetra, was very much dejected and disappointed. Why? Yes, because he thought himself responsible for killing of millions of people on the battle. So therefore, he was very dejected, disappointed. So who tried to pacify him? Lord Krishna himself tried to pacify him. But by Krishna's own will, he could not be pacified. Because Krishna is present as Paramatma. So he didn't allow him to be pacified. Why? Because he wanted to glorify Bhishma Dev. So therefore, now we see that all the Pandavas, they come to where Bhishma Dev is lying on the bed of arrows. Okay, purport. In this 9th chapter, as it is willed by Lord Shri Krishna, Bhishma Dev will impart instructions to King Yudhishthira on the subject of occupational duties. Bhishma Dev will also offer his last prayer to the Lord on the verge of passing away from this mortal world and thus become liberated from the bondage of further material engagements. Bhishma Dev was endowed with the power of leaving his material body at will, and his lying down on the bed of arrows was his own choice. This passing away of the great warrior attracted the attention of all the contemporary elites, and all of them assembled there to show their feelings of love, respect and affection for the great soul. Text 2. At that time, all his brothers followed him on beautiful chariots drawn by first-class horses decorated with gold ornaments. With them were Vyasa and rishis like Dhaumya, the learned priest of the Pandavas, and others. Text 3. O sage amongst the Brahmanas, Lord Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, also followed, seated on a chariot with Arjuna. Thus King Yudhishthira appeared very aristocratic, like Kuvera surrounded by his companions, the Guhyakas. So in the purport, Prabhupada writes, Lord Shri Krishna wanted the Pandavas to be present before Bhishma Dev in the most aristocratic order, so that he might be pleased to see them happy at the time of his death. Kuvera is the richest of all the demigods, and herein King Yudhishthira appeared like him, Kuvera, for the procession along with Sri Krishna was quite appropriate to the royalty of King Yudhishthira. So in great opulence, all the Pandavas are coming to see Bhishma Dev, because that is what Bhishma Dev desired. He desired that the Pandavas, King Yudhishthira, become the emperor. And so therefore, in royal opulence, they are all coming to see Bhishma Dev. Text 4. Seeing him, Bhishma, lying on the ground like a demigod fallen from the sky, the Pandava King Yudhishthira, along with his younger brothers and Lord Krishna, bowed down before him. So they all offered their obeisances to Bhishma Dev. Text 5. Just to see the chief of the descendants of King Bharata, Bhishma, all the great souls in the universe, named the rishis amongst the demigods, brahmanas and kings, all situated in the quality of goodness, were assembled there. So as Prabhupada writes, all of them assembled there on hearing the news of the great warrior's impending death. So who all were present? In the next 2 verses it is mentioned. All the sages like Parvat Muni, Narada, Dhaumya, Vyasa, the incarnation of God, Brihadashva, Bharadwaj and Parshuram and disciples, Vashishta, Indrapramad, Trita, Gritasamad, Asita, Kakshivan, Gautama, Atri, Kaushika and Sudarshana were present. So we see that how so many great personalities are coming to see of Bhishma Dev. So towards the end of this canto we will also see that when another great personality was passing away, also many personalities from all over the universe came. Who's that? Parikshit Maharaj. So therefore, so why all these personalities come when these great devotees are passing away? Why they come? What is the purpose? Okay, good point. Okay, to know his realizations, teachings. Okay, fine. What else?
To witness how the great devotee passes their body and goes back to body.
Ah, yes. Good point. To witness how somebody perfects his life and goes back to Godhead. And anything else?
So that people in general can be sure that he was a great personality, so many sages have come. So they can take his teachings very seriously.
Okay, it shows the glory of the person. Yes, that's right. So yes, so we basically see that how these devotees, they not only lived in exemplary way, but also left their bodies in exemplary. As it is said, the art of living and the art of leaving. So not only art of living is important, everybody lives. But what is even greater and what is even more important is the art of leaving. Because the most important thing is yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tajate ante kalevaram. Antagale jamameva smaran muktva kalevaram ya prayati samadhavam yati nasti. So, what is one's consciousness while leaving, that is what is going to determine the next life. And so therefore, here these great personalities, Bhishma Dev, Mahajan, he is showing how to leave the body. And that is what all these great personalities, Narada, Vyasa, such great personalities, but they all want to witness how these great devotees leave their bodies in a Krishna conscious way. And for same reason, when Parikshit Maharaj also was to leave his body, of course there was another reason also, that is, yes, the Bhagavatam was going to be spoken. But in any case, we find that all these great personalities come to see how they are leaving the body, and also because they are feeling separation from these great personalities. So Prabhupada writes in Parikshit Maharaj pastime, there he writes that as far as these great personalities are concerned, there is no doubt they're going back to the spiritual world. But the other devotees who remain, they feel separation from them. And so therefore, they are coming because this is the last time they can have the association of these personalities. And so therefore, feeling intense separation. So therefore, when great Vaishnavas leave their bodies, other Vaishnavas, we do find they also lament. So we hear when Srila Prabhupada left this world, some of the disciples, they were feeling so much separation for days together. They were lamenting, they were crying. But this lamentation is not like the lamentation of an ordinary materialistic person. So when a materialistic person, he gives up the body and relatives, friends, they are crying, mourning. That is due to ignorance. That is simply due to ignorance. They don't understand about the eternality of the soul. They don't understand purpose of life. All their lamentation is on a material platform. But when Vaishnavas grieve and mourn for a Vaishnava who has departed, then that is in full knowledge. So they definitely understand that this Vaishnava is definitely going back to the spiritual world. That is definitely a cause of great happiness. But at the same time, there are feelings of separation. Because the body is the medium by which one interacts with the other Vaishnava. So we cannot interact on the soul platform, correct? In the material world, the body is required for interaction. So when that body is no longer going to be there, then the medium for interaction is finished. And so therefore, the Vaishnavas feel great separation. And in those feelings of separation, they moan, they lament, they cry. But then these are due to transcendental feelings of separation on the spiritual platform in full knowledge. And also in such occasions are also occasions for expressing one's gratitude to that Vaishnava for all the wonderful services that he has done. We can offer our respects, our gratitudes. And therefore we find such great personalities from all over the universe are coming to see off Bhishma Dev. Eighth verse says, and many others, like Shukadeva Goswami. So even Shukadeva Goswami was present when Bhishma Dev is passing. And other purified souls, Kashyap and Angirasa and others, all accompanied by their respective disciples, arrived there. So these great personalities wanted to teach their disciples also how to leave this world. So it's a great lesson. Therefore they are coming with their disciples also. Because disciples also require training. Okay, text 9, let's recite. Tan sametan mahabhagan upalabhya vasuttamah pujayamasa dharmagyo deshakala vibhagave. Bhishma Dev was the best amongst the 8 Vasus, received and welcomed all the great and powerful rishis who were assembled there, for he knew perfectly all the religious principles according to time and place. Please read the purport.
Expert religionists know perfectly well how to adjust religious principles in terms of time and place. All the great acharyas or religious preachers or the reformers of the world executed their mission by adjustment of religious principles in terms of time and place. There are different climates and situations in different parts of the world, and if one has to discharge his duties to preach the message of the Lord, he must be expert in adjusting things in terms of time and place. Bhishma Dev was one of the 12 great authorities in preaching this cult of devotional service, and therefore he could receive and welcome all the powerful sages assembled there at his deathbed from all parts of the universe. He was certainly unable at that time to welcome and receive them physically, because he was neither at his home nor in a normal healthy condition. But he was quite fit by the activities of his sound mind, and therefore he could utter sweet words with heartly expressions, and all of them were well received. One can perform one's duty by physical work, by mind, and by words. And he knew well how to utilize them in the proper place, and therefore there was no difficulty for him to receive them, although physically unfit.
So all these great personalities have come to meet Bhishma Dev. So it says that Bhishma Dev is Dharmagya. He knows the principles of Dharma. And so therefore, he welcomed all these personalities according to Desha Kala Vibhagavat, according to time, place and circumstances. So as Srila Prabhupada is writing over here, expert religionists, Dharmagya, Bhishma Dev is addressed as Dharmagya, expert religionists, know perfectly well how to adjust religious principles in terms of time and place. So here we find that when all these personalities came to meet Bhishma Dev, so they are all guests for Bhishma Dev, correct? So according to principles of Dharma, it is described how a guest should be received. So maybe some of you can say some of the principles for receiving a guest.
Give a place to sit.
Okay, giving a place to sit. Okay. Okay, glass of water to drink. Sweet words. Okay, if possible, we can give prasadam. Why it's not possible? Okay, he says always fire should be on to give prasadam. That is at Jagannath Puri. The fire is never put off in the Jagannath Puri kitchen, I heard. So in the that comes later on in the 4th canto. So in the 4th canto it is mentioned that how ideally a guest should be so received that even if the guest is an enemy, he should feel so welcomed as if he is welcomed at home. So we have example in the Mahabharata. Which pastor? Correct. Duryodhan when? 5 arrows. So when Arjuna went to ask for the 5 arrows on the instruction of Krishna, so after the battle, daytime they were fighting, but in the evening they used to go to each other's camps. Even though they are enemies, they would go like friends. So when Arjuna went to meet Duryodhan, Duryodhan welcomed him like friend. And he said, what do you want? I am ready to give anything. You want kingdom back? I'll give. But Kshatriyas, of course, they won't accept like that. They won't fight. But the point is, Duryodhan was welcoming Arjuna like a friend, even though they're enemies. One more example. Jarasandha. Who was the guest? Bhima, Krishna and Arjuna. They were his guests. There also we find throughout the day Bhima and Jarasandha were fighting so fiercely to kill each other. But in the evening they would sit together, talk and exchange nice words like friends. So that is the principle of guest reception. The principle is what? That even if an enemy comes, he should be so welcomed that he never feels that he is an enemy. And there is another example of not an enemy, but of a relative and friend that comes later on in this first canto only. That is? No. When Vidura comes back, from his pilgrimage to the palace of Hastinapur, then we see how Yudhishthira Maharaj and all the residents of the palace, how they welcomed Vidura. And there's a nice description given over there. And there, of course, there are so many other pastimes. We see how Prithu Maharaj welcomed the four Kumaras, 4th canto. How Maharaj Nimi welcomed the Navyogendras, that comes in 11th canto. How Krishna received Sudama, 10th canto. So many examples we find that how a guest is welcomed. And so therefore, we find that in all these pastimes we see that according to the capacity, the welcome is there. Also in the pastimes of Krishna, we see how Krishna went to two personalities' house. Who? Bahulashva and Shrutadev. So Bahulashva was king. So he had a grand welcome. And Shrutadev he was a poor person. So he welcomed according to his capacity. So according to one's capacity, one needs to welcome appropriately. So there, in the 4th canto purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, so whatever is available should be given for welcoming the guest. And so Prabhupada explains different gradations. So if one does not have something very nice foodstuffs and some opulent things to welcome, then at least one must give a glass of water and a place to sit. So if one doesn't even have water, then at least one straw mat for the person to sit. And if one does not have anything, only kutia is there, nothing else is there. Maybe like Kolavecha Sridhar. Nothing else is there. But Mahaprabhu went to his place. So then what to do? At least sweet words. And if one cannot even offer sweet words for whatever reason, then what to do? Then Prabhupada writes, the person along with all his family members should weep and regrets that they are unable to welcome the guest. And so, the 4th canto of the Bhagavatam mentions that in a householder or in a house where saintly persons are not welcome, that house is compared to, yes, a tree where venomous serpents live. So that is the example given. So the point is that welcoming the guests appropriately is a very important aspect of Vedic tradition. Very important aspect. And as Vaishnavas we understand that when a guest comes, then Vaishnav sees the guest as Krishna's guest. That should be the consciousness, that the guest is Krishna's guest. He's coming to, where is coming? He's coming to Krishna's house. This is whose house? This is Krishna's house. So the people who are coming here, they are Krishna's guests. So with that consciousness we need to welcome. So here, in this context, Bhishma Dev is lying on what? Bed of arrows. So, on the bed of arrows in the battlefield, what does he have to welcome? So the only thing he has to welcome is sweet words and smile. So that is how he is welcoming the Pandavas and all these great personalities who assembled over there. So the important principle here is Desha Kala Vibhagavit. Okay, fine. So here there's a question and an important point for discussion. So here we are studying, we did have some discussion in our previous classes also, but it's always good to revise. So what is the importance of following etiquettes, Sadachar? Especially today being the disappearance day of Sanatan Goswami. So it's a good topic to discuss. Why? Okay, he's written Hari Bhakti Vilas, that's correct. So you can tell us the pastime when Mahaprabhu glorified Sanatan Goswami for his observance of Vaishnava etiquette. ठीक है, हरिनंद.
Goswami, so instead of coming from the main road, Sanatana Goswami came from sand beach road. So then Mahaprabhu asked him, why so? So he said that I am so contaminated, Jagannath Ji's servants move from the main road. So if they touch me, they will be contaminated. So better I should come. So Mahaprabhu glorified him.
Correct. So everyone knows this pastime, correct? Sanatan Goswami's pastime. So Sanatan Goswami is said to be the embodiment of humility. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to teach different qualities through different associates. So through Sanatan Goswami he wanted to teach humility. Through Damodar Pandit he wanted to teach simplicity. Through Ramananda Rai he wanted to teach sense control. And who is the fourth one? Haridas Thakur. Huh? I'm forgetting the fourth personality. Anyway, whatever. So, through Sanatan Goswami, he especially wanted to teach humility and the observance of Vaishnava etiquettes. So, even though walking on the beach, mid-afternoon sun, you have experience, no? You have experience or no? So what happens in the afternoon beach? Sand becomes hot very fast. As soon as the sun comes out, the sand begins to heat up. Very fast it gets heated. So, just so that, because as we know Sanatan Goswami, he had some contaminated skin disease. So therefore he thought that if he goes through the Simhadwara gate, then the pujaris of Lord Jagannath may be contaminated. So therefore he went via the beach. And the result was, there were blisters on his feet. Chhale pad gaye. So then Mahaprabhu asked, why? So interpretation. Then Mahaprabhu was very pleased. He said, even though you are the spiritual master of the entire world, you are Jagat Guru, but still you have acted like this just to teach the people of the world how to follow Vaishnav etiquettes. And then Mahaprabhu said that this observance of Vaishnav etiquette is what? Bhushanam, is the ornament of a Vaishnav. A Vaishnav looks very beautiful when he observes Vaishnav etiquette nicely. Why? Why this is said to be ornament of Vaishnav etiquette? Sai Krishna?
This Vaishnava etiquette attracts the mercy of Krishna.
Yes, good point. It attracts the mercy of Guru and Krishna and the other Vaishnavas. They are very pleased when there is observance of Vaishnava etiquette, good behavior. As we have discussed this point many times, that ultimately the purpose of devotional service, the purpose of the study of the Shastras is what? Attract mercy, that is correct. One more important point. Please the spiritual master, that's also correct. To develop Vaishnava quality is good. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna, that's also correct. If you remember, we quoted this statement of Srila Prabhupada from Bhagavad Gita 8th chapter, 20th verse purport. The study of the Vedas is not simply meant for the recreation of armchair speculators, but for the formation of character. The study of the Vedas is essentially meant for the formation of character. So, the proof that one is getting purified by devotional service is that there is a change of character. Good qualities are developing, sadguna. That is the proof that one is getting purified. So therefore, when other Vaishnavas see that, oh, this devotee is exhibiting good qualities, then other devotees, the spiritual master, ultimately Krishna, they all become very pleased. Oh, this devotee is making nice progress. But on the other hand, somebody is not showing good behavior, no good qualities, then other Vaishnavas will not be pleased by the behavior. One cannot attract blessings and mercy without the good character. Okay, what are some other points of importance observing Vaishnava etiquette? Or what are the results of not observing Vaishnava etiquette? कुछ पास में बताओ results of not observing etiquette. कौन? Okay, not observance results in aparad. Yes, that's correct. Indra or? Yes, Indra offending his guru, Brihaspati. And और कौन और एक व्यक्ति को ऑफेंड किया था? Yes, Romarshan. Yes, Romarshan, Balaram. Bakreshwar Pandit and Devanand Pandit. No, Devanand Pandit offended Srivas Thakur. Of course, that was, he was relieved of the offense by serving Bakreshwar Pandit. So we see many examples of how when the observance of Vaishnava etiquette is not there, then one loses the mercy. We see Brihaspati becomes angry, Durvasa Muni becomes angry. Correct. Sugriva offending Lakshman, yes. So we find all these examples. So therefore, the observance of Vaishnava etiquette is a very important part of Vaishnava behavior, Vaishnava Sadachar. Okay. Now we're coming to another important point of discussion here, and that is Desha Kala Vibhagavit. As Prabhupada writes here, all the great acharyas or religious preachers or reformers of the world executed their mission by adjustment of religious principles in terms of time and place. There are different climates and situations in different parts of the world, and if one has to discharge his duties to preach the message of the Lord, he must be expert in adjusting things in terms of time and place. So there is a question here. So what were the adjustments made by Srila Prabhupada for his Western preaching, especially in the Western world, but in general also? And where was he uncompromising? So where did he make adjustments? Where did he not compromise? Madhusudan? ठीक है. That is usually the first point always told, because one is very happy. कम कर दिया. Okay, but that's correct. Okay, fine. What else?
He didn't compromise with the four principles.
Okay, that's it. What he didn't compromise. Yes, he never compromised with the four principles. Yes. The four sinful activities, no compromise. Whoever he may be, no compromise.
He made this adjustment of Matajis and Prabhujis. They can together come to temple, perform services. Like they were together dancing.
Okay, your point is correct, but the point requires a little bit of modification. Within the same point, there is one thing which he compromised and one thing which he did not compromise. Somebody wants to a little bit adjust? Yes. The adjustment which he made was, he made Brahmacharini ashram. But where he did not compromise? Yes, he didn't compromise with free mixing of men and women. There he made no compromise. So he didn't allow free mixing. He allowed Brahmacharini ashram in the Western countries. Okay, the Brahmacharis can stay in the temple, but separately. He never allowed free mixing of men and women. That he never allowed. And he was very particular about it, that this free mixing never takes place. To the extent that he was very particular that such mixing does not even take place in the deity kitchen. So, Shrutakirti Prabhu tells that how he was always cooking for Srila Prabhupada in the servants' quarters. So the servant would get a small room beside Srila Prabhupada's room, and he had a stove over there, and he would always be cooking for Prabhupada over there. So, but that place was a little small always. And so when Shrutakirti Prabhu was in Los Angeles, so he thought, here nice big deity kitchen is there. I can go and cook over there for Prabhupada. So Prabhupada gave him warning, beforehand only gave him warning. He said, never go to the deity kitchen to cook. Always cook here in the servants' quarters. Because Prabhupada knows what will happen. The history of ISKCON shows many marriages get arranged in the deity kitchen. It's a fact. So Prabhupada gave warning to him. But Shrutakirti Prabhu thought, Arey, there are nice facilities there, I can cook nicely. So he went and he started cooking there, not following Prabhupada's instruction. And then the obvious happened. Shrutakirti Prabhu himself tells. He says, because I did not follow this instruction of Srila Prabhupada, Therefore, he had to get married. So the point that we're trying to make is, yes, so Prabhupada compromised by allowing women to come to the temple to perform devotional service, brahmacharini ashram, but he never allowed free mixing. So you want to mix, then you get married, but free mixing not allowed. Okay, some other adjustments. Bolo. Yes, second initiation for the ladies, yes.
Temples without gopuram.
Yes. So temples without gopuram and all the other externals of the temple. So just like the first temple, where was it started? 26 2nd Avenue in New York. So what was that? Storefront. Second temple was at San Francisco. That also was storefront. So most of the temples in the early days were all storefronts. You know what is storefront, na? दुकान. रोड के बाजू में जो दुकान होते हैं वैसे. So that was how the temples were started. So people in India were criticizing, अरे what type of temples are these? गोपुरम कहाँ है, ये कहाँ है, वो कहाँ है? Prabhupada was not concerned. The purpose should be served. Any more adjustments Prabhupada made? What's that? Okay, yes. Various other places also it turned into churches, also into temples. Los Angeles, big church.
Being sannyasi, he should be away from marriages and business, but he conducted marriages for his disciples.
Okay, yes. Prabhupada personally he conducted marriages for his disciples. Of course, he didn't want others to do the same. He did that because there was no one else to do it at that time. It's not that now also sannyasis do the same thing. Okay, crossing the ocean for sannyasi. Any other adjustments Prabhupada made? Okay, he gave sannyas at young age. Right? Okay, so traveling, cars, jet planes, everything, whatever can be used in Krishna's service, Prabhupada used. Yes, Prabhupada did allow sometimes even wearing of Western clothes for preaching. Okay, that also was quite revolutionary, initiating through mails. Yes, Rath Yatras all over the world. So yes, so Prabhupada made many different adjustments in preaching. So now, on the same principle of Desha Kala Vibhagavit, time, place and circumstances. As Madhavsundar Prabhu pointed out that Srila Prabhupada mercifully reduced to 16 rounds of chanting. Prabhupada writes this in the purport to the 5th verse of the Nectar of Instruction. Prabhupada writes, according to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, anyone who does not chant 64 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra every day is considered to be fallen. But then Prabhupada writes, okay, we accept we are fallen, but then there is Patit Pavan Avatar, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so therefore, okay. So now, in future somebody may say, according to this principle of Desha Kala Vibhagavit, now Kali Yuga has progressed a little more and will progress. So then maybe as Kali Yuga progresses, number of rounds should be reduced even more. So that everyone is very happy about it. So is it allowed? Why not? Desha Kala Vibhagavit, somebody can say. So why can't you be the next Acharya? Okay, your point is correct. We are asking, but I think so your sthan is not so appropriate.
Sitting here, asking book to carry.
थोड़ा आगे ठीक है हाँ
Prabhupada is Acharya and he has told that for next 10,000 years, these principles I have given has to be followed. So at least for next 1,000 years, no acharyas.
Okay, in the next 10,000 years, no new acharyas can come.
These principles that Prabhupada has given need not be changed.
Yes, the principles cannot be changed. Yes. So, but still, okay, as far as 16 rounds are concerned, okay, we understand nobody can change it. But there may be some other issues where there may be controversies. What can be changed, what cannot be changed. Various times some controversies come. What can be changed, what cannot be changed. So then, how does one decide in general what can be changed and what cannot be changed? How does one decide?
Principle cannot be adjusted. Details cannot be. Details can be changed.
Okay, that's a good point. The principles cannot be changed, details can be adjusted. So now we will come to one pastime which you may have heard before, but still we are going to read it once again. ये तो फॉन्ट बहुत छोटा है ना, दिख रहा है?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Light after. It's okay. Hare Krishna.
कंट्रोल लेके फॉन्ट बढ़ा दो 14
फॉन्ट बड़ा है
थोड़ा स्क्रीन बढ़ाओ.
और कहाँ?
हरे कृष्णा. थोड़ा स्क्रीन बढ़ाओ.
फॉन्ट भी बड़ा है। ये कहाँ है? हाँ, ये क्या आ गया? ठीक है, रीड. Where the mic is read? हाँ, read.
On adjusting principles, Shrutakirti, as he moved to massage Prabhupada's side, asked, Prabhupada, how can we tell the difference between making an adjustment and changing a principle? Prabhupada's eyes closed and Shrutakirti continued to massage. After a few moments, Prabhupada opened his eyes and said, that takes a little intelligence.
So how to know what to adjust, what to change, what not to change? That requires a little intelligence. So what is this little intelligence? Huh? Dadami Buddhi Yogam, that is not little intelligence. Okay, Maharaj was saying common sense in this world is not so common. Huh? Knowledge of scriptures. To study scriptures requires lot of intelligence. Okay, fine. So now, do we have it here? Yes. So now this pastime has been written by Gurujan Prabhu in his book. My Glorious Master, correct. So now Gurujan Prabhu gives a purport to this little intelligence. Okay, please read. ये highlighted दिख रहा है क्या? हाँ?
Shrutikirti's question was penetrating.
Remove the highlighter.
Yeah. No.
हाँ.
Shrutikirti's question
सब सो जाएंगे भाई.
was penetrating, clearly delineating between the adjustable and the non-adjustable, between a detail and a principle, and is not easy. It requires intelligence.
ये आप आ जाओ.
To foolishly mistake a non-adjustable principle for an adjustable detail will cause havoc in spiritual life, and to accept each detail as if it can never be adjusted is fanaticism. Fanaticism will cause havoc of a different nature.
So this is a very important point. To foolishly mistake a non-adjustable principle for an adjustable detail will cause havoc in spiritual life. What? To foolishly mistake a non-adjustable principle for an adjustable detail. इसका मतलब क्या है? हाँ, एग्जाम्पल बताओ.
नॉनवेज खा सकते हैं.
Okay, so like one example could be this. Sometimes these things happen. So we take vows at the time of initiation for the 4 regulative principles. So if somebody thinks, okay, let's be practical, and one thinks some of these things can be broken, so then yes, then there will be havoc in spiritual life. So in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, Rupa Goswami has given 64 angas of bhakti. Are they principles or details?
Principles.
How many of you agree? All these 64 angas of bhakti are principles. Principle और detail इसके बीच में फर्क सबको पता है ना? Principle क्या होता है? हाँ, चेंज नहीं कर सकते, नॉन एडजस्टेबल, एंड डिटेल इज एडजस्टेबल. ठीक है. सो दी 64 angas of bhakti are the principles. How many say they are principles? Raise hand. How many say they are details? So should we decide on the basis of majority vote? But in any case, if we still follow democracy also, majority raise their hands for principles. But in any case, Rupa Goswami says that all these 64 angas of bhakti are non-adjustable principles. They are all non-adjustable principles. So if one thinks that they can be given up, thinking them to be adjustable, if one gives up, then that may cause havoc in spiritual life. And to accept each detail as if it can never be adjusted is fanaticism. So just now we discussed that Prabhupada made so many adjustments, and because he made those adjustments, the preaching expanded. So now also we see that devotees are making some adjustments, correct? For preaching. Correct? Like? Okay, online preaching. Changing what?
Dates.
Hey, Rath Yatra dates not allowed, no, no?
In India,
हाँ तो फिर
in other countries.
हाँ ठीक है. और what changes in preaching has the recent generation made?
Scientific representations.
Okay, scientific presentations. Okay, bridge preaching, yes, as long as you bring them across the bridge.
Motivational speakers.
हाँ वही उनका है. In any case, so some adjustments devotees have made in preaching styles, in something else other than the standard style Prabhupada had adopted. And then we see because of those little adjustments, preaching has expanded because of those little adjustments. So if one does not adjust anything for preaching, that is called fanaticism. But still, somebody may say, oh, this can be changed. Somebody may say, no, this should not be changed. Always there may be some controversies. So then what to do? So Gurujan Prabhu writes another important statement here. I'll just remove this highlighted portion. Or it's okay? It's okay, fine. Okay, read.
If we have developed our spiritual intelligence, we can make distinction between principles and details. But we should confirm our opinion with trusted friends and superiors. If we haven't developed our spiritual intelligence, we should take guidance from those who have. We should not act independently.
Yes. So Prabhupada said that it requires a little intelligence. What intelligence it is? Spiritual intelligence. How one gets spiritual intelligence? Yes, by reading Shastras and yes, basically Guru Sadhu Shastra. That is how one gets spiritual intelligence. So if we have developed our spiritual intelligence, we can make distinctions between principles and details. But he says, but still, it is always better to confirm our opinions with trusted friends or superiors. Even if we think that we have developed a spiritual intelligence. But normally Vaishnava is humble, correct? We were discussing Sanatana Goswami, today morning's class also we were hearing. Even though they were so qualified, they always remained humble. So Vaishnava never thinks, oh, now I have developed my spiritual intelligence. Vaishnava never thinks like that. So therefore, a Vaishnava always confirms his opinion with trusted friends or superiors. So in this context, we have quoted this before also, I suppose. First canto, 19th chapter, verse number 12. 1:19:12 purports. Prabhupada writes this famous statement: any decision, whatever be its importance, must always be confirmed with some authority. That makes the matter perfect. Any decision, whatever be its importance, must always be confirmed with some authority. That makes the matter perfect. So this is in context of Parikshit Maharaj. So Parikshit Maharaj already had decided that for the next 7 days he will fast without eating and drinking and simply hear Krishna Katha. But when all the great personalities assembled there, what he did? He confirmed his decision with all those great personalities. He confirmed his decision. Even such a great personality as Maharaj Parikshit, who definitely was a Mahabhagavat, he has developed his spiritual intelligence. But even then, he confirms his decision with all those personalities. So Prabhupada says, if we do that, what will happen? That makes the matter perfect. What is the loss? If we confirm our decision, what is the loss? Huh? There's a fear that it will not be accepted. It's a good fear. So what is the harm if it is not accepted?
Going to fail later. It's better now.
फर्क क्या पड़ेगा? Why I should think my decision is so great, it has to be accepted. Is this according to Vaishnava Siddhanta? Does a Vaishnava think I am so great, my decision is so great, it should be accepted? Should a Vaishnava think like that? Vaishnava is supposed to be detached, correct? We are supposed to be detached, correct? So therefore, what is important is what? That my decision is accepted, is that important? Or Krishna and the Vaishnavas are pleased, is that important? What is more important? So why should I think my way is highway? Of course, not so easy to practice. We all have our false egos and we think that, yes, what my decision should be accepted, very important. But then, as Gurujan Prabhu is writing here, as Prabhupada is writing in that purport, it is always better to confirm. It is always better to confirm our decisions. That makes the matter safe, perfect. We should not act independently. Not act independently. Okay? Special comments? Mukund Bhadu?
Sometimes devotees they just inform, so it can be considered as the same what you are saying, or it's.
What do you think?
I'm asking for this. I don't know.
So what do you think? Is informing as good as asking?
Depends on the Desh Andhra Pradesh.
मतलब जो मैं चाहता हूँ मैं करूँगा, फिर मैं बताऊँगा कि मैंने इस प्रकार मैंने कर दिया.
Sometimes when you're going yatra, you don't inform, and just when you sit in the train, then you inform you are going for the yatra. Or
Just to say goodbye.
just to inform to the authorities so that वो ये ना बोले कि हम आपने बताया क्यों नहीं. In that situation,
उस टाइम वो क्या कर सकते हैं? ट्रेन से उतार सकते हैं क्या? क्या करेंगे वो? That is, as they say, eyewash. Namesake.
one more question.
नहीं, ये सॉल्व हो गया कि नहीं?
Just like
No, this is in one sense transcendental cheating, correct? What do you say, Prabhu?
Temple commander.
ऐसे ही करते हैं ना लोग ट्रेन में बैठने के बाद. तो फिर आप क्या करते हैं? So you give blessings. Huh? See, ultimately we have to understand that, see, these principles which which Prabhupada is writing, these great devotees are writing, is for whose benefit? Whose benefit? It is for our benefit. You have to understand this part. So, just like in Giriraj Maharaj's book, Jew Story, he writes of how Prabhupada made so much endeavor to get the land, get the deal signed by Mr. Nair. And then what happened? So Tamal Krishna Maharaj, Shyam Sundar Prabhu cancelled the deal. So they made an independent decision. Serious decision, such a serious decision. But they made it independent. What was the result of that? The result of that is that you must have read, no? हाँ वो सब तो हो गया. Prabhupada personally sent Vishakha Mataji to inform that don't cancel. But without listening to her, they went ahead. And then Maharaj writes that how Tamal Krishna Maharaj himself accepts that because of that wrong decision for 1 year, you know what happened? Huh? That is one point. One point is for 1 year, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, Shyam Sundar to run around so many lawyers and government offices, and such a big headache it was for them. That is one thing. Another thing? Every time some guest came to meet Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada would call Tamal Krishna Maharaj and he would tell the guest, you see this boy, he cancelled the deal. So embarrassing. In front of all the guests, Prabhupada would tell, he cancelled. So he had to go through that. For 1 year, he had to go through that. So a lot of suffering because of that wrong decision. So therefore, the good lesson to learn is better to consult. That makes the matter perfect. There is no loss. No loss. Consult, take decisions, then one can be like a small child depending on the parents. This is called simplicity. And as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, Saralata e Vaishnava. Vaishnava is simple. Not this Kutinati. If one does Kutinati, one is always in tension. Arey, maine jhoot bola. Oh, what he will think? Kya parinam hoga? There's always anxiety. But if one is simple, no anxiety. Okay, now just to complete the discussion. You have one more question, huh?
I hope I will make clear this question. Just like you said about the principle and the details. Detail can be changed and principle cannot be. And you require a little intelligence for that, to do that. So, Diksha, giving Diksha in ISKCON is like its principle or it's a detail?
So, in the 64 Angas of Bhakti, so what does that say? What does Rupa Goswami say in the 64 Angas of Bhakti? Right in the first five, one of the Angas of Bhakti is what? First is Guru Pada Ashraya. After that what? So accepting initiation, following the instruction of spiritual master, all these are principles. Huh? Rupa Goswami is mentioned.
So the person who is giving the diksha, that can be get changed.
So Prabhupada explains there, what accepting the spiritual master is a principle. What is a detail? Different spiritual masters may give different instructions to different disciples. That is a detail. Basic instructions are same for everyone, but some instructions we know for different disciples, different instructions. So that is what can be changed. But the principle of accepting a spiritual master, that is a principle.
So, Prabhuji, so this Ritvikism and female Diksha Guru can be come into principle or in detail.
So that is why the Ritviks have created havoc. Because that is they are going against the principle. It is not acceptable.
Yeah. Female Diksha Guru.
That is under discussion. Okay. Now this is another quote from the 4th canto of the Bhagavatam in connection with Dhruva Maharaj. Please read.
According to time, place, circumstances. The method of worship, chanting the mantra and preparing the forms of the Lord is not stereotyped, nor is it exactly the same everywhere. It is specifically mentioned in this verse that one should take consideration of the time, place and available conveniences. Our Krishna consciousness movement is going on throughout the entire world, and we also install deities in different centers. Sometimes our Indian friends, puffed up with concocted notions, criticize this has not been done, that has not been done, but they forget this. Instructions of Narad Muni to one of the greatest Vaishnavas, Dhruva Maharaj. One has to consider the particular time, country and conveniences. What is convenient in India may not be convenient in the Western countries. Those who are not actually in the line of acharyas or who personally have no knowledge of how to act in the role of acharya unnecessarily criticize the activities of the ISKCON movement in countries outside of India. The fact is that such critics cannot do anything personally to spread Krishna consciousness. If someone does go and preach, taking all risks and allowing all considerations for time and place, it might be that there are changes in the manner of worship, but that is not at all faulty according to Shastra. Srimad Veera Raghav Acharya, an Acharya in the disciplic succession of Ramanuja Sampradaya, has remarked in his commentary that Chandalas or conditioned souls who are born in lower than Shudra families can also be initiated according to the circumstances. The formalities may be slightly changed here and there to make them Vaishnavas.
Okay, so Prabhupada is writing in the Dhruva Maharaj section how Narad Muni gave instructions to Dhruva Maharaj. So he gave instruction to Dhruva Maharaj to make a deity. But where was Dhruva Maharaj? Forest, Madhuban. So where he'll get deity? So what he told? Make deity from mud and offer whatever is available in the forest. Fruits, flowers, whatever is available. So he made that adjustment according to time, place, circumstances. So in that connection Prabhupada is writing. So Indian people were criticizing that time, oh there's no Gopuram, no this, no that. But then Prabhupada went and preached. And then we see the results. Now again in the 4th canto, Prabhupada also gives this commentary. Please read.
It is specifically mentioned herein that Tulsi leaves are very dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and devotees should take particular care to have Tulsi leaves in every temple and center of worship. In the Western countries, while engaged in propagating the Krishna consciousness movement, we were brought great unhappiness because we could not find tulsi leaves. We are very much obliged and therefore to our disciple Srimati Govinda Dasi because she had taken much care to grow tulsi plants from seeds and she had been successful by grace of Krishna. Now tulsi plants are growing in almost every centers of our movement.
Okay, so initially when Prabhupada went to the West, there was no tulsi. But it does not mean that there was no offering, no prasad, no. So Prabhupada made that adjustment that time, because what to do. But then later on, Govinda she managed to grow. Okay, now regarding this Vaishnav dress or modern dress, somebody made that point, that Prabhupada allowed. But that was not a stereotype instruction for everyone. You can see from this pastime. Okay, please read.
Vaishnav dress or modern dress? Prabhupada. Why your dress is not as a sannyasi? Tushta Krishna. The robes make people uncomfortable, Prabhupada. They see you as different and can't relate. They won't relax enough to listen when I wear robes, Prabhupada. But sannyasis must dress in saffron with robes and shaved head, Tushta Krishna. I am following all the principles, but the dress is external and superficial. Why should we let it hamper the preaching? Prabhupada, if the dress is superficial, why should you change your dress to please people who are so serious about the superficial? You understand my point? Superficial people become controlled by superficial and external things. Why do you dress to please superficial people? You should dress to please Krishna. Krishna. So you would like me wear saffron and shave up? Prabhupada. Yes, I want you to promise this. Only wear saffron and keep your head shaved. This is sannyasi dress. You should promise. Krishna. Yes, Prabhupada, I promise. Watching Prabhupada lovingly checkmate a misled son was moving. And how brilliantly had Prabhupada turned Tushta Krishna's argument.
Okay, so he's saying dress is superficial. So Prabhupada is saying if it is superficial, then why change it? So Prabhupada turned the argument. So you see, we don't know the background and the reason. But in this context, as far as Tushta Krishna Swami is concerned, we see that Prabhupada says, no change of dress. So therefore, we have to know for whom is the instruction applicable. Now therefore, we cannot take that as a general instruction. If we take, therefore, one should be very careful. What can be applied and what cannot be applied. So, now we will see another context where Prabhupada said yes, the dress can be changed. So therefore, now if somebody reads this, what he will say? No change of dress. Okay. Now we'll see another one. Okay, now read this.
Prabhupada was both fully spiritual and completely practical. Prabhupada concluded that devotee could continue wearing non-devotee dress, but the dress of gentlemen, not hippie dress, while preaching and distributing books. Prabhupada explains his conclusions in the purports of Srimad Bhagavatam. In our Krishna consciousness movement, the tactic of dressing oneself like an ordinary karmi is necessary because everyone in the demonic kingdom is against the Vaishnava teaching. Krishna consciousness is not at all to the liking of demons of the present age. As soon as they see a Vaishnava dressed in saffron garments with beads on his neck and tilak on his forehead, they are immediately irritated. The greater demons like Hiranyakashipu are always prepared to chastise the Vaishnavas, and they try to make arrangements so that Vaishnava will not come to sell their books and preach Krishna consciousness. Thus, what was done by Hiranyakashipu long ago is still being done That is the way of materialistic life. Demons or materialistic do not at all like the advancement of Krishna consciousness. And they try to hinder it in many ways. Yet the preachers of Krishna consciousness must go forward in their Vaishnava dress or any other dress for the purpose of preaching. Sanakya Pandit says that if an honest person deals with a great cheater, it is necessary for him to become a cheater. Become cheater also. Not for the purpose of cheating, but to make his preaching successful.
So here what Prabhupada is saying, Vaishnava dress or any dress for the sake of preaching. And another quote from Chaitanya Charitamrita. No, this is Bhagavatam and then from Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Bhagavatam 7.5.7. Sometimes the Krishna consciousness movement sent its representative sannyasi to foreign countries where the danda and kamandalu are not very much appreciated. We send our preachers in ordinary dress to introduce our books and philosophy. Our only concern is to attract people to Krishna consciousness. We may do this in the dress of sannyasis or in the regular dress of gentlemen. Our only concern is to spread interest in Krishna consciousness. Sometimes members of International Society for Krishna Consciousness, especially in the Western countries, find it difficult to approach people to distribute books because people are unfamiliar with the traditional saffron robes of the devotees. The devotees have therefore inquired whether they can wear European and American
European
and American dress before the general public. From the instruction given to King Pratap Rudra by Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya, we can understand that we may change our dress in any way to facilitate our service. When our members change their dress to meet the public or to introduce our books, they are not breaking the devotional principles. The real principle is to spread this Krishna consciousness movement, and if one has to change into regular Western dress for this purpose, there should be no objection.
So you see, so in this purport, Srila Prabhupada said, you can wear any dress, but you see with Tushta Krishna Maharaj, he said no change of dress. So therefore, what can be changed, what cannot be changed is not stereotyped. Instructions could vary from person to person. Therefore, living Guru is required to make those changes according to time, place, circumstances, person. So these adjustments need to be made. And so therefore, one should not take these references from Prabhupada's purports, Prabhupada's letters, and fanatically prove one's own point. One will find points for both arguments. So somebody who wants to say that no change of dress, one will quote that pastime with Tushta Krishna Maharaj. Somebody who wants to say change of dress allowed, then he'll quote this reference. So then everyone has their quotes to prove their point. Then who is there to decide? So therefore, Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, all three must be there. So therefore, the Guru is required, the Sadhus are required to give advice according to that particular person, what is best suited for that person. Otherwise, if one simply reads Shastra, then one can misuse Shastra for one's own purposes. And therefore, here Satsvarup Das Goswami Maharaj, he writes in his book, Misuse of Prabhupada's Authority from Prabhupada's Appreciation. So, we'll just read a few points from here, and then we will take a break. And then we will take questions, and then we'll take a break. Okay? Okay, I'll read a few statements from here, what he writes. The practitioner already agrees and accepts much that the non-devotee still has to be taught, such as the Lord Krishna, Supreme Personality of God, we should surrender to Him. But in the carrying out of the principles, we encounter detailed and practical considerations which become a concern and should be addressed and understood. A weed which may appear in the garden of our devotion to Prabhupada is a misuse of his authority. There are different ways to misuse Srila Prabhupada's authority, such as misquoting him, using statements as evidence that have rather weak authenticity, as opposed to statements frequently included in books and tapes. Please note this point. See, when we quote something from Prabhupada and we want to apply it, we also need to see how many times Prabhupada has emphasized that. That's what he's saying. Weak authenticity means what? Okay, Prabhupada said it once in a while in some conversation, that means there is weak authenticity. But if something has been emphasized again and again by Prabhupada, especially in his purports and letters and lectures, so if something has been emphasized again and again, that means that has a stronger authenticity. So that has to be given greater importance. Not that one picks up something from some corner in some conversation, says, oh, and make that the Mahavakya. So that is one thing. Second thing is using Prabhupada's statements in preaching to other devotees for some personal motivation. So one has some personal motivations to prove something and then he uses Prabhupada's quotes. And imitation of Prabhupada's authority. So he is going to explain these things. So sometimes misquoting Prabhupada innocently. He says misquoting Srila Prabhupada is often committed innocently, but it is perhaps the most difficult mistake to eradicate from a movement. Devotees sometimes refer to something that was credited to Prabhupada, which he never actually said. Now this happened even when Prabhupada was present on the planet. Shuddhagita Prabhu tells this. Once he asked Prabhupada, Prabhupada, these devotees are saying you said something like this. Prabhupada, I never said. I never said. So sometimes one just wants to prove one's point and one uses Prabhupada's name to prove one's point. Often new devotees accept anyone's claim that Prabhupada said, and as in any tradition, inaccurate stories are passed down. One way to avoid this I mention this quite often, one way to avoid this is to repeat only those stories that you have read either in Srila Prabhupada's books or in a bona fide literature about Prabhupada. If you are unsure of the source of a quote you hear, you may ask the person speaking. If he has no reliable source, it is probably best not to repeat that story. We discussed this point before, correct? If we don't know the reference, better is don't repeat. Otherwise, we told one story. Sargal Singh story. Everyone knows Sargal Singh story? So it should not become like that. So therefore, if we don't know the reference, if we don't know the authority for something, then better is don't repeat. Srila Prabhupada was quite aware that he was being misquoted by his disciples. He was regularly having to clear up the doubts springing from the rumors that would be police repression and the Sankirtan would stop. So he's giving some examples. So there were some doubts like this: police repression, Sankirtan will stop. That is, Guru Maharaj was one of the 8 Sakhis. That there would be a depression and atomic war, or that there should be no more marriages in ISKCON. All based on someone saying, Prabhupada said. Once while lecturing in the Bowery, one of his new students, Mr. Paul, had said, Swamiji, I understand in your household life that you have 20 children. Prabhupada said, he did not know where the man had gotten that information, and he certainly did not have 20 children. Prabhupada gave this as an example that you have to hear from the person himself rather than someone else. Similarly, to the mistake of misquoting Prabhupada is to take something he may have said in the light of a particular circumstance, even though it may not be his regular teaching on that point, and stresses that as evidence. Okay, so he may have said something, but that is contextual in that particular circumstance. So taking that and saying that, okay, this is applicable in general. No, it doesn't work that way. To claim that Prabhupada said, when in actuality he said many more things to the contrary, is misuse of his authority. The Mahavakya or absolute instructions of Srila Prabhupada's teaching is present in his books. When Prabhupada made other statements, we should try to see how these points are presented in his books. So just like we read that conversation between Prabhupada and Tushta Krishna Maharaj. So that instruction was specifically meant for whom? Tushta Krishna Maharaj. Now one cannot take that and make it a general instruction. Now general instructions he has given in his purports. So we read 3 purports where Prabhupada is saying you can wear western dress. So therefore, now taking either fanatic stand is wrong. So even though that instruction to Tushta Krishna Maharaj was contextual, but what is important is to understand the principle that if I need to follow something, I need to consult with my authority before making a decision. That is what we have to understand. So we should try to determine which statements are Mahavakya and which ones were presented according to a particular time and circumstance. This does not minimize the value of these other statements by Prabhupada, but when making a distinction between the two, we'll be sure to be presenting Prabhupada's main teachings. There are a variety of statements which have rather weak authenticity. Now, this is Satsrup Maharaj, what he's writing. For example, we often hear devotees quote Prabhupada saying that he had completed only 50% of his work to defend development of Varnashram. But what is the origin of this statement? In Prabhupada Leelamrit, we find it as follows. Okay, somebody wants to read this? Mike?
We have all met together, Srila Prabhupada. We want you to remain and lead this movement and finish the Srimad Bhagavatam. We said that you must remain for at least another 10 years. You have only done 50% of your work. Srila Prabhupada was listening carefully without any movement. But when Brahmananda said 50%, he frowned and said no. Srila Prabhupada Leelamrit. Although Prabhupada is purported to have used this figure of 50% again in London in 1977, it was originally spoken by Brahmananda and not approved by Prabhupada. This does not mean that Prabhupada did not consider the development of Varnasrama Dharma in ISKCON as very important. But using this particular reference as a Mahavakya statement may not be the most authentic way to make one's case. It would be better to find the many references in his books and letters and use those as proof the Varnasrama should be developed. Another such statement which with questionable universal applications is, if you have to sell books, do it by hook or by crook. Letter 72-946. This statement is offset by statements like, you should know the tactic how to sell without irritating. And that we should be very honest in all our dealings as Brahmanas. Evidence is also given that the best, only way to please Srila Prabhupada is to preach and distribute his books. But there is also ample evidence that Srila Prabhupada accepts whatever service is performed for the ISKCON mission.
Okay, so as you see, he is giving references for all whatever he is saying. The specific letters he is giving a reference. So what is the remedy for this type of misuse of Prabhupada's authority? We should repeat only in a general way as a paraphrase anything we do not have a direct quote to prove. And we should avoid using as Mahavakya evidence quotes that are not often repeated in the purports. So we have to present Prabhupada's teachings according to time, place and person And to do this purely, we have to be free from personal motivation in our preaching. Very important points. Otherwise, what we'll do, we have a certain motivation, we want to support the motivation, then we will take some Prabhupada quotes out of context and use them to support what I want to say. So that's not very good. Prabhupada's letters, for example, were applicable to certain persons at specific times in ISKCON's development, and although they can be studied for inspiration and general instruction, they should not be separated from their context. Okay, so then he talks about misquoting Prabhupada with personal motivation. So sometimes devotees want to push their own ambitious ways also, distort Prabhupada's teachings to prove their philosophies, and it's not right to use a Prabhupada teaching to hurt another person. Misuse of authority is different than a staunch defense of Prabhupada's teaching. And if you want, you can read the whole thing later on. So when we talk of time, place and circumstances, therefore, how to adjust, what to change, what not to change, should be done according to Guru Sadhu Shastra with proper authority. So that's the important principle we read here from this verse, Desha Kala Vibhagavad. And we'll just read one verse to complete the section, the first 10 verses. Text 10. Krishnam chatat prabhavagya asinam jagatishwaram hridistam pujayamasa mayopat vigraham. Lord Shri Krishna is situated in everyone's heart, yet he manifests his transcendental form by his internal potency. This very Lord was sitting before Bhishma Dev, and since Bhishma Dev knew of his glories, he worshipped him due. Okay, fine. So we'll stop here and we will continue at 2:30 p.m. Thank you very much. Questions? Huh? Okay, we'll take one question from Sharad. And we give the attendance. No.
That particular point you were mentioning, misquoting Srila Prabhupada, weak authentication sort of thing. So, and then you were mentioning that Prabhupada has quoted only once, and that too, we don't find any other quotes of Prabhupada referring to that. So, in this regard, I have two kind of similar questions, little different. So, one is, if we say that, okay, Prabhupada has said in this particular context to this particular person because of his whatever situation, a doubt comes is that because if you say like that, then the question is, he is a pure devotee, and if you say that it was only meant for him, then that means whatever Prabhupada says is not applicable for everyone?
No.
Like in the sense?
No, so therefore, especially in a personal conversation, like here only we saw that example, no? Tushta Krishna Maharaj. So that instruction that you have to wear only sannyas dress was meant for Tushta Krishna Maharaj. What is the background? We don't know. That we don't know. What is the background? But for whatever reason, Prabhupada is telling Tushta Krishna Maharaj that you should wear only sannyas dress. You promised Prabhupada is saying. Correct? But then we saw three purports.
Correct.
Where Srila Prabhupada is saying any dress. So therefore, then if you talk about authenticity, which is more authentic? What is in purports is more authentic, correct? What is in purports is meant for everyone. And that is in a conversation. So that is specifically meant for Tushta Krishna Maharaj.
So that
but the lesson that we learn here is, therefore, even though changing dress is generally allowed, but still it could vary from case to case, and therefore I need to consult my authority in order to actually check what can be done and what cannot be done. So therefore we always have these three check and balances: Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. That's okay? ठीक है, okay. Okay, fine, we'll take it.
Regarding the contradiction between the statements that Prabhupada made with Tushta Krishna Maharaj and in these purports. So in Lilamrit, I read when book distribution was happening in the airports, so devotees were wearing karmi dress and big jewelry. So when Prabhupada came to know about it, he directly stopped them. But when Tripurari Prabhu, he recommended that it's flourishing our book distribution, and because if we don't wear, then it may get hampered. Then on his request, he said, okay, that is all right. Similarly, I feel that the statement that you showed in the beginning with Krishna Maharaj, what is the year of that statement? And the purpose that Prabhupada wrote later on. So what is chronological order?
That I don't know. I don't know exactly what's the chronology. But in any case, the principle always remains. See, the one principle that always remains is what is there in purports has more authenticity than letters and conversations. Letters and conversations can be contextual, but purports, Prabhupada, whatever time he wrote it, purports are meant for all time, place, circumstances. But still, we cannot take a fanatic stand even in that case. Even though that instruction is there in the purport, but still I need to check whether I can apply it in my life by checking with my immediate authorities. That is always the system. That is what we saw. The decision needs to be confirmed by some authority. That principle always remains. So Prabhupada has given both statements. So of course he has given these statements, but Prabhupada has also given this statement that any decision should be checked by authority. That statement also is from Prabhupada's purport. Okay?
There are many statements in the Prabhupada's purports in relation to position of women in the society or in a family. So in the Western context, some devotees feel that they are becoming an obstacle for preaching, so they feel like editing them or removing them. So essentially, that may not be our primary focus in preaching, of establishing position of women. So it seems to be justified to remove. On the other hand, it is like, how can we make changes in Prabhupada's purports? That is also there. Because primarily we are not here to establish position of women in the society. We want to preach propagation. So if it is becoming obstacle, so why can't it be edited? That is one section of devotees' faith.
Can I add something to this?
So you are asking a question or as a comment?
No, that's what, like, some people feel it is perfectly alright to edit. And other section feel that the purports are for next 10,000 years. They can't be edited or changed. So like, it always seems to be a controversial.
In my opinion, what Prabhupada has written in his purports always apply. Whether people agree or not doesn't change Siddhanta. Siddhanta always remains the same. That is the meaning of Shastra. I cannot change Shastra just because somebody else does not agree with it. I cannot change. How can I change? What is my authority or anyone's authority to change scripture? Shastra is Shastra. It cannot be changed. I cannot change Shastra just because you don't like it. Now people will say, oh, you are talking about 4 regulative principles. Do you think all people like it? What do you say? Now tomorrow you will say, you means anyone. Okay, for sake of preaching, we will remove the regulative principles. Allowed? Somebody can say, na, if we remove the regulative principles, our preaching will expand like anything. What? Even Prabhupada said it. Prabhupada said, himself said it. If I didn't introduce these regulative principles, I would have had millions of followers. But I didn't compromise. My Guru Maharaj didn't compromise, and therefore I don't compromise. That was Prabhupada's stand. So therefore, we cannot make change in Shastra based upon what people like or don't like. Prabhupada said it's not vox populi, not based on popular vote. Shastra is Shastra, which has to be presented as it is, whether people like it or not. Our purpose, and specifically talking about these issues of women and all, our purpose is not to remain men or women. Our purpose is to transcend both these platforms and come on the transcendental platform. That is the purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement. Not to keep fighting that I am man and you are woman. That itself is a very low bodily consciousness. That is not the purpose of our preaching. The purpose of our preaching is to raise both men and women to the spiritual platform and not remain on the material platform. That is the purpose. So Shastra cannot be changed just to please someone. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Samved Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Attendance please. Aditya Ram Prabhu.